I get shit done, I have fun. It's my time and I'm the one. I'm breaking through.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Business Renovator. I am Coach Phil. Today's topic is igniting the human experience to thrive at the pace of the 21st century. Isn't that exciting? I think it is. We'll find out more from my wonderful esteemed guest and peer. I'm excited to have her here to share some of her wisdom. But before I do that, remember, if you're watching this live, thank you for being here. We appreciate that. And if you're watching this at a later time, just go hashtag replay and let us know where you're coming in from. We'd greatly appreciate that. And if you would go to the Business Renovator on YouTube, and what do I want you to do? I want you to subscribe. It would just be terrific. A nice little gift you could give to us. If you have any questions for us as we're doing the show, if you're here, great. Put them in the chat and we'll have a look at them and answer them as best we can. And if we can't get to them right away, we'll see them on the replay and respond to you then. But in the meantime, I'm going to do a shameless plug by our sponsor. So if you would like to find out what your business growth score is, you can follow the steps on there. Go to coachphil.ca. In the top right-hand corner of my website, you'll find the link to access it. If you have questions after that, you can certainly reach out and have a conversation. And by the way, if I'm not able to address your questions, guess what? I'm part of a great global network. And I'm certain that if I can't answer it, I can find the person that could best suit your situation. And one of those esteemed coaches from around the globe is one of my guests today, and I'm pretty excited to have her here. We were members of an organization within the company itself called Team Engage, and her wisdom and her passion for everything she does is just amazing. And I don't want to brag about her too much because when she comes up and shares her story and what we're all about, you'll just see what I'm talking about. So we were talking about in the promo is that we live in a fast-changing world, and with the pace of change accelerating, we need to be able to navigate it successfully. So Kerrie Hoffman, my guest today, is one of the experts in that space, and actually she's going to talk to us about that a little bit today. She works with exceptional executives to apply new digital ways of working so they thrive at the accelerated pace of the 21st century of business. She's a #1 international best-selling business author and a CEO of Hoffman Digital, an ecosystem of companies igniting the human experience at work. This includes certified executive coach at Focal Point Business Coaching and a principal at Get Digital Velocity. I will share her URL on her website shortly, but in the meantime, why don't I just bring her up and let her tell us what we're going to talk about today? And here she comes.
Hey, Phil.
Hey, welcome, and thank you for fitting us into your crazy busy schedule today. Much appreciated.
It is my pleasure. I really appreciate you having me.
And I see we've got a few people that have popped in. Let's just see who's here. Oh, let's just say hi to them before we get started.
Ooh, sounds good.
Oh, Kellen says, hi, coach. I think she means me, but you're a coach too, so I'm going to share this coach with you. And who else do we have here? We've got Roberto from Parkland, Florida. Front row seat. Big fan of Kerrie.
Hey, Roberto. I know Roberto. Great to have you.
That's awesome. The one and only Coach Phil is back on the air from a Facebook user. I'm not sure who that is.
Ooh, they choose to remain anonymous.
Yes, they do. Now I'm going to bring up Bruce, though. This guy is a genius when it comes to producing these shows. I probably should see if I could afford him to do what he does. He's magical. He runs a number of shows for friends of mine, and he's brilliant at it. Learn a bunch of stuff from him. Thanks for being here
Fantastic.
with us, Bruce. So, digital craziness in the 21st century.
It is crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think the thing that people will notice is that business is speeding up, right? Everybody feels that. You feel that?
Is it business is speeding up, or the content, I guess, is the magic word today. The content is everywhere. And I was communicating with somebody on LinkedIn after a Clubhouse session, and it reminded me of a story when I had a border collie. We were out at the ranch and doing some work with her, and we put her away, and we're walking up for lunch. And the ranch owner said to me, he says, "You know what, Phil," as we're walking up the path, looking at all the stuff he has to do on the ranch, there's always 27 and a half hours worth of stuff to do, and only ever 24 hours to get her done. I think we're accelerated in that space. We've got more to do in the same 24 hours.
Right, exactly. And it's because of this explosion of information, right?
Yeah, and it comes from everywhere.
Yeah, so I love sharing some context around this
Okay.
because there's a reason why this is happening. We've actually exited the industrial age and we have entered the next age. And it was caused by a trigger. Every time we move from one age to the next, there's a trigger. And the trigger was this exponential growth in technology and very, very modernly architected technology is what actually caused it. But the result is that business is speeding up. And if we are going to adapt to this new speed of 21st century business, then we have to change the way we work and we have to transform our businesses. And I'm going to pause there, Phil, and let you comment.
Well, I'm just pondering what you're talking about there because I was looking at your website, and I'm going to share that later with our audience so they can go and dig into what I just started to tap into. There's some really good principles, and I like the way you've presented them to help us with the digital change. I'm very familiar with them, but I like your presentation. I meant to mention that before we went on the air, but here we are. I really like the way you've put it together. It's simple and concise. I haven't seen the whole 4 video series. I've only seen video 1.
Okay, cool.
But I'm envious. It looks really good.
Yeah, well, and there's actually 2 sets of materials that people can look at. Because I talk about this different way of working because if you try to keep up by doing things the same way you used to do it, it's like trying to do more with less, and it just doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
So there's a different way that we interact with our customers, and there are these different ways of working. But there's another set of material that I have, and that's really what I want to focus on today is mindset, because the first step in the transformation to be able to do it is to change your mindset. And mindset is something that I see time and time again that is the blocker or the enabler of people being able to actually transform.
You've hit a nerve, a chord with me. I'm actually a mental fitness coach in addition to being an executive and a business coach and a sales trainer. And why is that? Well, you just hit the nail right on the head. If we can't get people to change the way they think, what they think about won't change. And if that's true, nothing else will change. So having the metrics and how to sell and being a CEO or a VP or whatever the title is, if you're not willing and open to change,
right,
then you're going to be the same thing. It's like, was it Einstein that came up with that crazy quote? The definition of insanity is expecting things to change and not prepared to do anything. That's not how the quote goes, but that's the...
No, the quote is something like doing the same thing and expecting a different result.
Definition of insanity.
Oh, yep. That's it.
Right.
Yeah. And we have a lot of that, right? We have a lot of people just trying to keep doing the same thing harder and faster and expect a different result, and it's not working.
And the thing I find fascinating about that is they want change. They think they want change, but they've got this thing inside of them called the creative subconscious mind. And its job is to maintain our sanity no matter what.
Right.
If we're an alcoholic, we stay there until we can shift the self-image, the creative subconscious power, our isness. Until we can see ourselves at our future best, it's really hard to move away from that. And it is our mind's job. That's why I like mental fitness so much, because it gives us a practical way to make the change happen. And it's our mind's job to maintain sanity and keep us who we see ourselves to be. And if we change who we are, then we can create the dissonance or the positive stress to grow into who we think we want to be. So
Yeah.
it's really important to have goals, but I want to simplify that. Just if you don't like goals, ladies and gentlemen, if that thing bothers you and causes you some angst, just ask yourself, what are you looking forward to? That's a goal. What are you looking forward to? And go after that. Because if we go after what we're looking forward to, we're more likely to make the change happen. You just opened up a can of worms. I could talk about this for hours. So,
I think you and I could both talk about this for hours, right?
yeah.
I love what you're touching on, because that goal of, what do I want, right? There are some really very interesting aspects of the mind that are important for people to understand. And there's a ton of science behind this. I'm going to
Yes,
say this up front. There is a ton of science behind this. And we've
absolutely.
got all kinds of references to that and some of the material that you can jump into after this. But when it comes to the mind, we have a conscious mind and we have a subconscious mind. And Phil started to talk about the creative subconscious mind, right? Which is really important. The conscious mind is only about 10% of the power of our mind.
Mm,
Okay, it's like an iceberg. So our conscious mind, which we're most familiar with, is 10% of the power, but 90% of the power is in the subconscious mind. So it's like the part of the iceberg that's under the water. And that subconscious mind, remember, it's that powerful. So what Phil is saying about that goal, really think about, what do you want? Um, that is important, because whatever you're thinking about consciously, that is what you're feeding your subconscious mind. So the conscious mind acts like the boss, and the subconscious mind acts like the subordinate. So if you're thinking about the things you don't have, like in your business, if you're thinking, I don't have enough customers, and that is on your mind a lot, that is what you're feeding your subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind is a subordinate. So guess what? Your subconscious mind goes and works on making sure you don't have enough customers.
and it's habitual and it's
Oh, it
powerful.
is.
There's a really good book. Be careful you don't get the child's version, although I've never read it, but it's not the one I'm referring to. And it's called The Ant and the Elephant. And the ant is the conscious mind, and the elephant is the subconscious mind. And there's a wise old owl in this story. And what happens is the ant, a wind comes up, or maybe the elephant has a
My,
fluff,
my.
right?
Yes.
And things shift, and the ant panics because he's all alone and he's afraid. So the wise old owl is his coach, and he's coaching the ant to understand that he's riding on the elephant, and if he just gets aligned with the elephant can take him where he wants to go.
Ah, there you go. And the key there, get aligned with the elephant, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's so powerful. It'll take us there automatically. But it's like we're talking about the definition of insanity. If we're not open and prepared to do the work consciously to reprogram and the focus, then the elephant just carries on doing what it does habitually, which is that's what it knows what to do. And an elephant never forgets, right?
No, right. It is a awesome servant to us. But it can either be a servant in a good way or a bad way, depending on what we're thinking on.
Oh
So
yeah, that's good.
I learned a really simple technique for if you're thinking about what you don't want, right?
Yeah.
Then just ask, what do I want instead?
Yes, absolutely. Just flip it.
Flip it. All you have to do is flip it. So, oh my God, I don't have enough customers. I don't have enough revenue coming in. I'm not going to make my bills next month. Ah, right. No, flip it. What do you want instead? I
Yeah.
want more customers. I want more revenue. Visualize, how can I have more revenue? And really keep your conscious mind focused on what you want, not what you don't have. And then your subconscious will go to work on it.
Yeah. Have you heard this? Where thoughts go, energy flows and results show.
Ah, yes.
That's T. Harv Eker's quote, not mine, but I use it a lot. Thank you, Harv. It's a brilliant one because it just takes what you've described and reminds us that if we're And then there's a formula called E plus R equals O. So if we're not happy with the outcome in our life, go back and look at what we're doing. What's the event and how are we responding to it? Those are two variables that we can change to get the different outcome. We can't change the outcome without changing the first two.
Right. And that quote, there's actually there's some meat behind that quote. There
Mm-hmm.
is a scale called the emotional vibrational scale. And and this is scientific now, folks. Our Whatever our emotions are, there's a vibration level.
Mm-hmm.
So the highest emotions are like love and joy and ecstasy, right? And the vibration level of that is like 700 megahertz. And the lowest emotions are, depression and things like that, and that's like down at like 20 megahertz vibration. So we actually are sending vibrations out into the world when we have emotions, and that's why our thoughts and our feelings create these vibrations, and we attract back similar, okay, circumstances and people and events. So if we're constantly on the bottom half of the scale, which is all the negative emotions, that's what we're going to attract back. See, we all know people who complain, right? And they always seem to have so many reasons to complain. That's
Yeah.
because they're reflecting back, and the world is sending them all these reasons to complain.
Yeah. There was a study done, and I forget who did this study, but they did a tuning fork. Oh no, it was two pianos in a similar space, but not right beside each other, and they hit a note, and the energy from that D note went to the other piano that wasn't in the same room, and it started vibrating the same D note on the other piano. So what you're talking about is the same as that. When I first was introduced to this kind of crazy thinking back in the mid 70s, I know I look good for 30, don't I?
You
Maybe I
do.
don't look.
You look awesome.
Anyway, they said birds of a feather flock together, and there's some truth to that. I mean,
Yes.
hawks and chickens don't hang out with each other for a variety of different reasons, but the energy level is not the same. They don't vibrate at the same level.
Right, exactly. And so there's a whole ton of science behind this. So there's some really cool books that will show you the science behind it. There's a book called What the Bleep Do We Know?
Yes.
There's a book called The Biology of Belief.
Yep.
Real
Sounds like
Magic.
them.
Real Magic is another one, The Extended Mind. So if you're sitting here and listening to us and thinking this is a bunch of woo woo, it's not. There's science behind this.
There is, and you know, it started becoming um, being made aware of in a book that's really old, and it's one of the forefathers to. There's two of them that come to mind, but the initial one is Think and Grow Rich. And one
Yes.
of the first laws or principles in there is the burning desire. And the burning desire is to get you to vibrate at a higher level so that you turn on your creative juices, you attract like minded people, and there's a synergetic connection to you and the universe, and you move towards what you think about most of the time, right? And the
Right,
other one was
exactly.
another old book written by Wallace D. Wattles called The Science of Getting Rich. And neither one of these gentlemen are actually talking about making money
Right.
specifically, but that's something that's easily measurable. Whereas if you want to be happy, how do you measure that? It's really hard to come up with a piece of evidence that I guess if you could test your vibration when you're happy, that would be a way to do it. But for mortal humans to be able to put it down in a metric tracking way, it's hard to do that. But you can check your bank account, you can check your profit and loss statement. Those are some things that we can do. So if we can get the results there, where else can we apply this in our life?
Yeah, exactly. So both of those books and authors that you mentioned are in a collection of books that's called the Prosperity Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's interesting because this has been written about, right, for decades and decades. Actually, it goes back millennia. Um, but a lot of it got suppressed. As I was doing the research to find the science, I learned that a lot of this was suppressed over the years. And so I bring this up because Napoleon Hill wrote Think and Grow Rich, but he himself had a really hard time following it. He did all this research and interviewed all these people, and knew exactly what he needed to do, but he found a hard time doing it. And he wrote a second book called Outwitting the Devil.
Yes.
And it wasn't published while he was alive because he felt the world wasn't ready for it. And so it got published later, I think by a nephew. It actually got published by him, but it goes even deeper into all of this. So it's really fascinating.
So here's a question. Is the mindset about focusing on the desired outcome only, or does it evolve to focus on the actions? I have a response to that, but what are your thoughts?
Oh, I think you absolutely need to act on it. So if your conscious mind is feeding your subconscious mind the things that you want, then your subconscious mind is going to end up sending you all kinds of things, right, to do. Like ideas will pop into your head, and actions that you can take. You'll get to know those because your subconscious mind is feeding it to you. But then you have to actually act on it to make it
Yeah,
happen.
right.
And that's a lot of what outwitting the devil talks about.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you said basically I was going to say. Um, Knowledge without implementation is useless. Reading a book without applying what's in the book is a waste of time.
Yep.
Hiring a coach and not following the objectives that you said you're going to do is a waste of time. Don't hire the coaches. Just stay your mediocre self. What I like about this question and what your response is I like that as well, is that by having these thoughts about what is it we really, really want and getting that desired energy level, that vibration level, whatever label you want to give it, it
Right.
turns on the creative juices to push
Yes.
us out and pull us towards where we want to go. Steve Jobs has a quote. If I'd have known we were going to talk about it, would have had it ready. But it basically is, if we go after what we really want, that really energizes us, we won't have to do it. We won't be pushed towards it. It will pull us into it. So
Mhm.
getting this burning desire, having this thing that we really, really, really want to go after is really an important piece of the puzzle. It's the fuel that drives us to our desired end result. And when we've got that bigger than what our current reality is, where we are right now, where our stinking thinking might be, because again, our elephant mind is going to bring us back into what it believes we want to be, because it's protecting us. We don't like change. That's one of the four things we don't
Right.
like to do. So
Absolutely.
recognize that and latch on to the vision. What if it did work out instead of, oh, it never will work out? What would I do? How would I feel? Who would I help? What would I be? And not to be braggadocious, but how you grow into it. Anyway, we could go talk about this for,
I know we could. I think we're running out of time. But
well, we're
the
getting
key
close, but
point, I think the key point is that we have to intentionally use the power of our mind, right? So understand the power of our mind and then intentionally use the power of our mind and act upon those things that we're attracting back when we're in that positive state of mind. We're on the top half of the vibrational emotional scale.
so one of the things I find, and it's part of everything I talk about with everybody I work with, whether they like it or not, they end up, when they start getting in the habit of using it, they start liking it, is that we often go through our successes way too quickly and take them way too lightly.
Mm,
Somebody gives us a compliment, and a lot of people say, yeah, whatever, next. It's just doing my job. Well, you're 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 losing out on an opportunity to give sanction to something that you've done, not so that you can create a list of things you can brag about to other people, but it's to help you change your elephant mind, to lean on the things that you've done in the past, to increase your efficacy, which is really your ability to get shit done. And as you heard in the theme song, I get shit done. And this is one of the things that I do that help me and all of my clients do on a regular basis. And what they found is it's one way to help them shift and grow into that ideal end result they want to be. Because remember all the things they've already come through, like the challenges and the hurdles they've overcome from the time they were born right on up to wherever they are. The saddest
yes.
thing about that, I introduced this to a basketball team through one of my nieces, and we did this exercise. And a girl in grade 10 only came up with 5 successes. That's
Ugh,
sad.
yeah, that is sad.
I mean, she's in grade 10. She passed 10 times.
Right.
That's 10. Anyway,
Well, I think reflecting on your successes is important because you can really think back of what was my state of mind? What was I doing? Like, how did I get there?
yeah.
And then, and then think back of times when you failed and what that was. I think you can learn a ton from failure, but you can also learn a ton from your successes. And if you're struggling, small tweaks make a big difference, right? Little tweaks are huge.
Yeah, the way I explain that, and I keep forgetting to go to the store and pick one up. I should just go to that online store and buy one from there. And that's a kaleidoscope. And if you think of a kaleidoscope and the light's coming through it and it's got the images,
Hmm.
and if you turn it a little bit, the image will totally change. It won't be the same as what it was before. So we don't, and if we were to look at the North American auto manufacturers, when they, in their heyday, they were doing great. But they wouldn't make change happen unless it was a home run. The Japanese, who were not that good, became a lot better. And they didn't do it looking for home runs. They did it by small incremental increases on a consistent basis. And they started dominating the marketplace globally, not just in North America. It woke the whole world up. Well, the smart ones anyway.
Yeah, I mean, they went from being known for really bad quality to being the benchmark for quality, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, they
And it
were
was
made
through
out of,
continuous improvement.
yeah, constant and never ending improvement. Can I? Isn't that how we say that?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah. I want to share your website because there's a bunch of great resources there before we wrap this up. So bear with me as I bring you on. I think there we go. So this is your website, and I'm going to make it easy for people to find you because I can't read your URL there. But here it comes right now. It's really easy, hoffmandigital.com. And if you like what you've seen or heard from this lovely lady, and I can't see why you wouldn't, you might want to go to hoffmandigital.com. And there's a couple of reasons why. There's some great content in there, and you'll learn more about what we've been talking about there. You have a couple of series of videos. You want to plug
Yeah.
those up?
Yeah, I can talk about those. So you can see there's a link on the top that's called Brilliant. That is actually from a book I wrote, Brilliant Breakthroughs for the Small Business Owner. It's a book compilation. I wrote chapter 6, and that's all about how business is changing and how what are the different ways of working. That's under Brilliant, and then under Mind Power, I it's really a sequel. I wrote chapter 10 in the 5th volume of Brilliant Breakthroughs, and that's a sequel, and in both Brilliant and Mind Power for free you can sign up and you can watch the videos that really take you through the chapters of the book.
Cool. And I started watching the Mind Power one, where I started, and there's 4 videos, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
I've only got through the first one because I only just started. They're not that long, but packed with lots of information. I'm actually envious of what you've put together. It looks really good.
Oh, thank you. The Brilliant videos are even shorter. They're like 5 to 10 minutes each,
Oh,
so
okay.
yeah, you can get through those pretty quickly.
Well, I'll have to make sure I consume those as well.
And if you happen to point your camera to the QR code on my background, that was also the website, hoffmandigital.com.
See, you're savvy.
Little tricks.
Little tricks. Let's bring us back. Here's a trick. There, we're back.
There's that QR code. That'll take you to the website
Let me
directly.
make it a little bit bigger. I don't know what the resolution is like coming back, but
I think
there
it
we
works.
are. It's there. But hoffmandigital.com will get them there as well, right?
That is correct. Same thing.
So if I was to ask you, what's one nugget that you would get people to do from hanging out with us today, what would you recommend?
The one nugget that I would recommend is make sure that check what you're thinking about and make sure you're thinking about what you want and not what you don't have. Successful people will think about what they want. And highly successful people actually understand all those aspects of the power of the mind and they put them to work on a regular basis. But at the end of the day, it's the same thing. Think about what you want and be very intentional with feeling about what it is you want.
Fantastic. And I'll come back and join you. This has been a blast. Um, I'm thinking that we should do this again later on in the year and talk about more of this. What do you
I
think?
I think that would be awesome, Phil.
I,
We're
I,
both we're both passionate about the topic, so.
I don't know if anybody could figure that out, but
No, they couldn't tell.
they couldn't tell. So I appreciate you being on the show today. Really, your knowledge and your passion, not only here, I've been fortunate to be able to experience that over the years that we've been together in the same organization, helping our peers as well as our communities, the people we serve, get to another level in ways they had never even imagined before. Not that you and I have any magic pills or magic wands. We don't.
No, we don't.
We just help hold people's feet to the fire, so to speak, and stay congruent to what they say they want to get done.
Well, thank you for having me, Phil. I always look up to you, and it's a pleasure to be on your show.
I appreciate that. Thanks very much. Well, I loved every minute of that. And unfortunately, some guy decided to make this only 30 minutes long. Oh, yeah, that was me. Anyway, there was some reason for doing that. I had other coaches that recommended to do that. So a couple of things you could do is you could do the business growth score. That's a free gift from us. If you would like to do that, go to coachphil.ca and click on the business growth score and complete it. And it'll give you some insights as to where you're at. You might be doing really well in a lot of areas. Maybe there's an area of room for improvement that you hadn't thought of, or you thought about, but you put on the back burner. That it'll get pointed out. And then we were talking about mindset a lot today. So if you're looking to find out what your saboteurs are, they're the things that are talking you out of what you could be, your greatness, go to positiveintelligent.com/saboteurs. And once you've done that, let me know, and we could have a 20-minute follow-up call to help you understand what all that means, because I am a mindset coach with positive intelligence. So that's enough plugs for today. I'm going to say one more thing. It's a bit of a gift for you guys. It's a reminder from every time I do this for me as well, is to be wonderful. The U in wonderful is deliberately a U as opposed to an O, because many years ago, a coach of mine said, Phil, you are wonderful and unique. Go act like it. So I encourage you to do the same thing. You are wonderfully unique. Till next time, I'm Coach Phil.
I get shit done, I have fun. It's my time and I'm the one. I'm breaking through.